College Success Arizona presents Student Stories. The feature of the following story and interview is Marc Sanchez.
I was born in Yuma, Arizona.
And how old are you now?
I am 22.
And what are you doing so far as your academics?
First off, my freshman year of college, I began going to the University of Arizona, and my first major started off being as an architect major, and I liked it and all, but it wasn't for me. I could do it. It was just really boring, and I didn't like the environment. So I decided to switch, and I switched to graphic design and illustration, which is what I'm doing now. Still finishing that up. I got one more year to finish it up. And I'm doing a minor in Spanish and Portuguese.
Graphic design and illustration, what do you hope to do as a career?
I do want to continue my master's or hopefully like a graduate degree in graphic design and illustration. And my hopes are to be either an animator or a storyboarder for any of the big companies, or even write my own or illustrate my own stories. But hopefully like focus on like nationality and like identity and kind of focus on those areas, but with like cartoons and trying to get people to be proud of where they came from or their heritage basically, and like tell the stories of like culture, because I love traveling and I love exploring the world. I've traveled, thank God, different places around the world, and I've met different people and learned a lot about culture. So I'm hopefully able to like do something with that, with graphic design and illustration, and continue traveling and hopefully learn more languages and help people out, because that's what I hope to do.
So basically, it sounds like you want to be a storyteller.
Yeah, in a sense, yeah.
Where did you graduate from high school?
I graduated from Cibola High School.
Talk about your high school experience.
You know, it's kind of funny because I went to a private school my entire life from kindergarten to 8th grade. So transitioning from a private school to a public school was a little different for me, because I was never exposed to a lot of the stuff that some kids are exposed to. So when I first entered into high school at Cibola, I was like a really sheltered, kind of like little church boy. And I have nothing's wrong with that. I love saying that because I'm very devout to Christ and everything. But going into high school, it was weird, because I remember the first day of going into biology class, something that stuck with me. There was a girl in my class, and she's all like, and she was talking to her friend. She's like, "Did you hear about so-and-so? She's pregnant." And she was a freshman, and I was like, oh my gosh, where am I? Like, it was so like different for me, because people were just cussing. I've never heard like any cuss words in my life other than like movies, and even my mom wouldn't even let me like watch those movies. So it was just a very different experience. And like my freshman year was kind of hard transitioning, but my second year I kind of got the reins and hold of everything and became really involved in school and everything, meeting a lot of people and like just going around and playing sports and having friends and hanging out. And I have no complaints, honestly, about my high school life. I loved it a lot. My mom was like the head counselor there, so that kind of helped too. So I really enjoyed it.
And going from Yuma over to Tucson, to the University of Arizona, from a fairly rural community to a much bigger city, can you describe that transition and maybe some of the challenges that came with it?
For me, one of the challenges was just being by myself, because my mom was always on my tail about everything, because I was kind of like, I wasn't lazy per se, but I was a kind of a procrastinator, so she always had to get on my case to like work on stuff or like get stuff done. So like definitely going over to the University of Arizona was just like total different environment for me. My freshman year was kind of rough, because I had to like learn how to like communicate and work with different people and kind of grow. And Tucson, honestly, I love Tucson. It's basically like a bigger Yuma, like a glorified Yuma. That's what I could call it. So, and I had a bunch of friends that came from Cibola too that went to Tucson, so I had no problem there. We hung out, and honestly, I've made so many good friends over in Tucson. So the whole transitioning from Yuma to Tucson wasn't really hard. The hard part was just being responsible and being on top of myself and knowing that no one was there to basically tell me to do something. Because since I've been there, I've had at least 3 or 2 jobs every year. And this past year, I had, I think, 4 jobs. I was interning with the football team. I was working as a supervisor at one of the restaurants on campus. I was an RA at one of the bigger dorms, and I had to deal with a lot of the football athletes, basically. And then I also was a graphic design student working in the marketing department over at the Arizona Youth Student Union. So just being organized was the main difficulty for me.
To be an animator, you could end up in, Los Angeles? Is that kind of a goal?
Kinda, I hope to. I don't know as of right now, because hopefully my plan is to, after I graduate, hopefully be able to go teach in Spain for English and hopefully be a foreign service officer to kind of like work with people and kind of be an ambassador. And then once I'm done there, go and benchmark my degree, hopefully go to Cal Arts to get the degree for animation and storyboarding and illustration, and then hopefully work in the, that job field afterwards.
I imagine if you could make it to a Disney or you say Pixar, which is, I guess, owned by Disney, that could be fairly lucrative. Is that correct?
Yes, it could. And, that would be the dream job for me, hopefully, eventually, if that would happen, to be able to do that.
Now, is this something you've wanted to do your whole life? Were you one of those kids doodling and doing cartoons when you were, 6 years old in your classroom?
It's funny you ask that, because, yes, actually, one of my vivid memories when I was very young, I was in church when I think I was maybe 4 or 5, I can't remember exactly. And I was sitting right next to my mom, and there used to be this gentleman that used to always sit behind us. And one day, I looked behind, and he was drawing on his hand, and I was like, what is he doing? I never knew, what drawing was or anything. And, he turned to me, and he started smiling, and he just kept drawing. I was like, what is he doing? I was, so interested. And he put up his hand, and there was a little drawing of this dog, this cartoon dog, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. So from that point on, in the 90s, everyone loved Pokemon and Digimon, so I drew Pokemon and Digimon. I drew dinosaurs because I love dinosaurs, and especially now that dinosaurs are becoming a really big thing again. But anyways, so after that, I just kept drawing and doodling and everything. Then I started drawing cartoons kind of in 8th grade and 7th grade, kind of doing anime and manga. And then I went into high school and I realized, okay, maybe I shouldn't be drawing these, because if I go into high school, I'm going to be labeled as that weird anime or manga kid. So I started doing graffiti, and then I started doing tagging and everything, but I never tagged on the walls because that was illegal, and my mom would have killed me if she found out if I did that. But I just started doing it in my sketchbooks, doing it on my friends' backpacks. A bunch of my friends would come up to me and ask me if I could do it on their backpacks or on their shoes. And then my teacher, Holly Hendricks, she's one of the teachers over there at Cibola, she saw that I had potential, and she brought me into a classroom in the art class and was like, hey, you should start working on maybe transitioning to fine art. So I started doing more fine art stuff, kind of implementing graffiti with kind of more the finer sides of art and developing this kind of style I did. And I went on to doing really well with it. I won a couple of championships in the Yuma region. I actually sold a piece to some lady in South Dakota for about $400. And I won the Redondo Days. It's a big thing in Yuma. It's like an auction. I sold one of my paintings for about, I think, $1,500 in a bid. And I made money for my art department and everything. And then from there, I went to college, and then I realized, no one cares about, in high school, everyone has those cliques and groups, and everyone's always, nagging at people or trying to make fun of people. And then I realized in college, no one really cares, and I started going back to drawing, cartoons and everything, kind of developing my style, and now, everyone loves it. They always tell me, you're doing really good, hopefully something will happen. I actually worked for the football team this last semester, interning for them, and I did over 100 cartoon portraits of the recruiting football players they were hopefully bringing to the University of Arizona, and I did a bunch of cartoons with the Wilbur the Wildcat going against different mascots that we were facing off of the different teams we were facing off. So it's been, doors have opened to allow me to develop my skills and my abilities and being able to do that. And now I'm planning on actually this year going to different places in Mexico and the U.S. with my good friend who's a photographer and a videographer, as well as I am. And we'll be going to those different rural areas, working with orphanages and kind of showcasing them with art and our ability. So I'll be doing murals for them.
And Mark, what advice can you offer to middle and high school students in Yuma and elsewhere and who may be considering their own college career?
Honestly, no matter, just have something to believe in, whether you're religious, whether you have a doctrine, whether you have, a certain belief, just don't give up, because most kids, I've seen a lot of my friends just stay in Yuma, and it's kind of, it kind of sucks, the life out of them, and, especially as a young adult, you kind of start doing stuff. I've seen friends that have fallen into stuff that, isn't necessarily good over in Yuma, but just try to get out of Yuma. I'm not saying Yuma's a bad place. I mean, I love Yuma. I could see myself living there and, raising my children there. But as, a young adult, it's not really beneficial for you. So my advice is just get out, do it if you can. Take out loans if you have to, because it'll be worth it in the end. And go to college, just, get your degree, explore, because you'll meet people, and, like, as long as you're communicating and talking and, like, making friends, you'll meet people that'll help you along the way. They'll be able to, like, push you and guide you and mentor you to where you want to get to. And that's probably the best advice I could give for people, leaving middle school or even high school looking to pursue a higher degree.
Can you tell us how the scholarship from College Success Arizona, which provides up to $6,000 per year for educational expenses, has helped to limit or avoid student debt, and also talk about your success advisor, Matt Sotella, who's kind of a mentor to you?
Oh my gosh, like, honestly, when I found out I'd gotten the scholarship, it has been a blessing, like, unbelievably, because it's been helping me pay for my school since my freshman year, and thankfully I haven't had to take out many loans. The only loans I've had to take out were probably to go study abroad, and that was the only loan I had to take out, and it was totally worth it because study abroad was amazing. But, like, I even received the scholarship for a fifth-year extension this coming year because I have to stay for an extra year at the University of Arizona. So I thank you guys extremely much for granting me the opportunity to go to school and to get a degree and to continue my education and help people grow. Now that I'm older, I'm mentoring people. I'm telling them about certain scholarships and certain ways to develop your skills and to continue pursuing your degree. And Matt, he's been a great help. Every time I see him, no matter what, he always has a smile. He always is able to help me in whatever situation I'm in. He's always giving me information pertaining to newer scholarships or even, like, events that could help me potentially further my career and develop myself as a leader. All I gotta say is that he's been doing a great job with all of his students.
Thank you, Mark, for the interview and for working so hard to make a difference in our community.